Okay, here's the recovery of number 4 Gulf Coast Boss Turtle. This is a Gulf Coast Box Turtle recovered number 4. It's November 3rd, 2017. It's about 7 in the morning. This one is rarely seen. It's very aggressive. It has a big old notch here, which makes it easy to identify. My theory is it probably got hit by a mower years ago. This one will not go in its shell, and the shell is actually recovered a lot. And I've been recording this one since 2014. I call it the fast female because this one it'll haul butt. I mean, this is the fastest one around here. It's got this big old notch here. And I put a notch down here back in 2014, and you can barely, let me see if I can see it. Those are, oh, this thing's really scratching. Those notches there are from June of 2014, and here it is November, so that's what, 3 years and 3 months. That's how long those notches lasted. And I'm really not notching these anymore if they're easy to identify. It's just a waste of time. Doesn't help the turtle any, but this has got this big, huge notch. That's a female. And the dimensions I measured here before I went to look in the book here. I usually do that just to see how close I am. 155, 76, 75, 76 for the dome, width 118, mass 355 grams. And the dome is kind of hard to measure because if it won't stay in its shell, I try to measure right across this bottom area to the top, and it can actually be larger over here when the shell's open. But this particular one is it's got a disposition, if you want to call it that, of just going like mad. I think it's got a history of its trauma, so it knows to haul butt. I'm gonna put this back in the pan here real quick. But today, it's 6:55 here. You can notice that last time I recorded this was June of 2016. 701, 702. That was in April 16, and then October 2015. The weight actually is long term is actually down. But the dome on this, if I compare it versus June of 2016, it's got the same dome height, width slightly larger, length is smaller, and actually when you measure on here, because they tend to get chewed on and the inaccuracy of measuring it across here, you get these little, raised portions. As soon as they get chewed on or it wears, it drops. So this type of turtle is kind of hard, very difficult to measure. You can see the damage there where it's gotten chewed on. And let me just see if I can stop and get the shell pattern. That's what the shell pattern looks like. If I attempt to try to count the rings, which really doesn't mean anything, this is not the one to try to do it on because you can't really measure it. It's just not going to sit still. This one I've observed years ago. If it's outside and then it hears a lawnmower, or here's an outboard going by, it'll haul butts. So that's my biased opinion of it. This thing probably got hit by a mower, and so it maybe associates loud noises like that with danger. And since it's got such sharp claws here, 1, 2, 3. What's it got on the back there? Looks like it's got 4 there. Let's check this other one over here. It knows how to. Looks like it's got 4 in the back. I've got 5 on the front. It's got a little bit of yellow on the front arms. So after all this trauma, I'm going to put it back to where it was. I've only got 2 in my study to have a big notch like that, so it quickly helps aid identifying that. It's a lot of stress here because here's another feature right there. Maybe a dog got a hold of it or something. There's a lot of damage through here. There's the recovery of the shell. It's always growing, kind of like a fingernail or something. This thing's not going to bite me, but the fingernails, or whatever you want to call them, the claws are actually very sharp, incredibly sharp, so they can scratch you. And since I eat a whole bunch of different stuff, crap and stuff, you got to be careful you don't get a scratch on you. And that seems like the biggest danger. You gotta wash your hands after, because you get salmonella and stuff. So I usually wash my hands real thoroughly. Sometimes I wear gloves. There's the notch damage. There's the data. This one I just really heard rustling around in the leaves, so I ended up pulling it up. It was laying right in the leaves. I pulled it up because I knew I hadn't cataloged this in a long time. So we're going to go ahead and put it back where I found it. There's number 4 with the big notch.